Thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. Aaron and I are really excited to talk to you about how Restaurant365 works with a lot of brands inside Kahala. The main one we'll focus on today is Cold Stone Creamery. So for all of you Cold Stone franchisees, this will be a really great time for you to learn what Restaurant365 does, how we do it, and how we work with other Cold Stones today and some of the value that they're taking away from our software. I'll be joined today by Aaron Alexander. He's one of our solutions engineers. He's been here for a really long time, so he's a great resource to have. He'll be doing most of the talking today. But as we're going, please feel free to drop questions in that Q&A box there. I'll be reading them in real time. If you want to raise your hand, you can certainly do that as well. The goal here is to make this pretty interactive and not just have Aaron and I talk at you, right? But with that said, I'll kick things over to Aaron and we'll go ahead and get started.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Eric. So excited to get started today. We're going to go through a lot of things from accounting, operations, and all that good stuff. So just to kind of lay the groundwork here, I want to start with a couple of slides just to position ourselves here so everyone understands like exactly what Restaurant365 is, what all it can exactly do for us inside of the restaurants, right? So I want to start here with what we call cloud chaos, okay? So this is basically explaining where the restaurant industry is today. Right? Obviously, we are feeling a little bit of this in our day to day because we've got all of these different point solutions, right? We call them point solutions. That basically means I have a tool that kind of does one thing really, really well. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Until we're looking to get our numbers in a fast, efficient, and accurate way. Then we have to go and run to all these different tools. I won't name off all these bullet points for you, but we have to run to these different tools in different places to go find those numbers. Yes, sir.
Are you sharing your screen?
I am.
All right. Then maybe I just can't see it.
Oh, good. Yeah. Awesome. So that's where Restaurant 365 comes in, right? So with Restaurant 365, we are the only true all-in-one system that exists for restaurants, meaning we have our own accounting solution, replace QuickBooks, Sage, NetSuite, any of those tools we might be using today. So a full accounting suite built specifically for restaurants. Inside of that tool is our inventory management. That includes recipes, daily, weekly, monthly inventories, menu costing, all of these different things, all housed within our accounting software. And what that really does for us, the big picture of that is we're now breaking down that wall between accounting and operations, right? We're all now working from the same books, the same set of numbers, albeit from maybe different views, different screens, different outlets like our mobile app or whatever it might be. But all working in one system, we're not duplicating efforts. We also have workforce, right? Scheduling management through the mobile app, hiring and services of that sort, right? Hiring and onboarding services. So a lot of different tools here that we can utilize within the R365 umbrella to put all of this into one place. Awesome. Now, a little bit about how we do that and how we're going to kind of start jumping into some software, some screenshots, things like that. It's really going to revolve around our integrations, right? So first and foremost, integrating with your POS. So we integrate directly into your POS to pull over every single day sales tickets, labor punches, and automated daily journal entries, right? So for our accounting, we've got that automated daily journal entry happening. And for our operations, we've got all that sales ticket detail, menu costing, all of that. We'll dive a little further into that here in just a minute. Now, we're also going to integrate with your vendors. So this is automating our AP cycle, right? From invoices flowing into the software, full item detail, all of those pieces, GL coding, right? All the way through to maybe placing orders from the system, paying our vendors from the system. So full AP automation. Currently, we've got over 200 vendors integrated into our software. Last but not least would be the bank integration. right? So with bank integrations, we're able to connect directly to your bank accounts. That allows you to pull in that bank activity, all that bank statement information, and have that information match up with everything that exists in Restaurant 365. So we can really streamline that bank reconciliation process and get you to close your books much, much sooner, I'm assuming, than we do today, right? That's the end goal there. We can close those books as quickly as possible. Awesome. So let's dive a little further into the integration piece, right? So let's start with the POS. So on my screen right now is what we call a daily sales summary. This is a journal entry that is going to be automated into our system every single day. Again, we're going to pull this in from the POS. And what we've done is we've actually linked all of your POS data directly to your chart of accounts. So that allows us to fill out all of this sales information, the payment type information and mapping, right? Tax payable, all of those pieces. And we're even pulling over the labor data, right? To do those daily labor accruals. The big picture here is that we're going to give you the ability to pull a P&L every day if you want to, right? So that's how we're going to be able to do that. Now I want to click and show another screenshot, and this is that same daily sales summary, but from an operations perspective, right? Does my manager in the store care about debits and credits? Probably not, right? What they care about is, did I hit my labor number? So we've got a nice little comparison here where we can see my sales versus what I forecasted. If I hit that number, I get a green check. My labor versus what I scheduled. If I hit that number, I get a green check, right? And we can view that by hours, dollars, and percent. So we're going to get all of that detail just from that POS integration. And again, that's giving us that ability to pull a daily P&L or even daily menu costing. You'll notice the last bullet point over there, menu item detail for menu costing and theoretical usage tracking. So later in this slideshow here, we'll jump into some theoretical reporting. We'll jump into some things of that sort that will give you insight into where we're losing out. Awesome. Now with the vendor integrations, I wanted to share a quick screenshot here of an invoice, right? So this is specifically a Cisco invoice, but again, as I mentioned, over 200 vendors currently integrated into our system. So with these vendor integrations, we are completely automating the invoice experience. So these vendors will automatically import these invoices into our system. So you don't have to take a picture or scan it, anything like that. These will just show up the day that the food arrives in our restaurant. Now, the benefit of that, obviously, is we don't lose invoices anywhere, anything like that. But it also gives us one record for operators to essentially check in these deliveries, leave comments, expected credits, things like that, directly there on the invoice that are then visible by our accounting team on the accounting side of the software. So again, breaking down that wall there between operations and accounting and allowing us all to benefit from one invoice, one record. Now, with that vendor integration, you can see line item detail, right? So these invoices flow in with itemized detail, pack sizes based on the specific SKU that we actually received. We're going to have all of our quantity and costing information there. We're also going to have all of the GL coding, right, done on this invoice as soon as it shows up in our database. So we know exactly how much was produce, dairy, grocery, whatever our accounts may be. We'll be able to have all of that coded out there. Now you'll notice this red alert here, we actually get cost fluctuation alerts as well. So whether that's just based on a percentage that an item fluctuates or based on contract pricing. If you have contract pricing with a vendor, we're going to send you daily alerts from these invoices that say, hey, this item went up or down X% from invoice to invoice. Or if it's a contract violation, it'll say this item violated this contract because it was this price, right? And we also have reporting that can be directed straight to your vendors for contract pricing violations. So you can have those things flowing out automatically from the system and just automating that kind of vendor ownership of their pricing. Awesome. Now, the last piece around the integrations is going to be our banking integration, right? So again, to be a legitimate accounting solution specifically for you in the restaurant, we've got to integrate to that bank and connect those bank accounts directly to our system. And by doing so, what we're doing is we're creating a workflow to work through daily banking activity, right? We're able to pull this up every day. The majority of our transactions, vast majority, are going to be auto matched, right? Because we've got a transaction in Restaurant 365 that matches that transaction inside of your bank. We also have the ability to set up rules. So we have a rule vault where we can set up rules, and that will auto create those types of matching for things that don't auto match, right? So we can help bridge that gap a little bit. And then that's going to leave us with a couple of unmatched transactions here and there for us to simply code out, link to transactions in Restaurant 365. And again, streamlining that bank reconciliation so that at the end of the month, end of the week, however often we're doing that, we can just close out that week of bank reconciliations. Awesome. Okay. So let's take a minute here. We're going to go a little deeper into Restaurant 365 accounting. After that, we'll do operations and scheduling. All right. So start with the accounting piece. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about why having operations and accounting in one system is a big value add, right? I think we see that. But a couple of other things about restaurant specific accounting, right? Number one, this is allowing us to collaborate across departments because we're using the same data. We've talked about that. Having that same data means I don't have to go hunt down this invoice in the store, pull out a file cabinet, flip through things, look for manual edits, all of that good stuff that might be happening today. Obviously, the fact that we connect your accounting system to your POSs, vendors, and banks is a huge value add because we're automating so many of those daily bookkeeping tasks and just getting you to that meaningful, detailed reporting so much more quickly. Easily managing and automating your accounts payable process. Something we'll look into in a minute would be our AP Center, moving those invoices in a clean workflow from received to paid. We also have the ability to outsource our bill pay, right? Our 365 payment service where you click a button in here and our 365 does the rest, paying those invoices for you, and where available, even getting you some rebates with our virtual credit card, right? Getting you some rebates on those bills you're paying. A couple of other ones, tracking fixed assets, right? Depreciating assets, assigning repairs and maintenance to those assets to do a quick repair and replace kind of query. So not something we'll dive super deep into today, but we do have that fixed asset module available. Then also customizable reporting. Something we'll talk about when we get to the P&L is automating the ability to get that P&L over to, I believe, profit keepers, right? Where we need to submit those P&L off every month. We can automate that actual send for you. So just a couple of bullet points there to kind of round that out, improving the accuracy of the financial data, bottom line in real time, right? Pull that P&L every single day. Saving the accounting and office team time through those automations, right? Daily journal entries, bookkeeping tasks. The streamline mobile friendly AP, that's for our operators pulling up invoices on their mobile app, right? And then growing without expanding the accounting team. Just because I add 5 new locations doesn't mean I need a new body in the accounting office to help process all of that AP and put in those journal entries, right? We see that scalable growth because we don't have to add those bodies every time we're adding locations. Awesome. So here's a little sneak peek into our AP Center, right? Like we talked about. So with our AP Center, this is, again, working those invoices from received all the way to paid. So automating those payments, right? So I can take invoices from this awaiting approval tab, mark them as ready for payment, which is basically an approval workflow, right? Once they're ready for payment, I've got a clean, concise view of what bills are due when. And then from that ready for payment screen, I can create a payment run, and then R365 will take it from there and actually submit those payments off to those vendors for you. Awesome. So here's a quick snapshot of our P&L. One thing to mention here, and just to point out, I know some of the details here might be a little small, but the big point to take away from this is side-by-side reporting, right? So up to this point, right, we've gotten here with no manual entry based on the POS integration, bringing over things like my sales, my labor, all of that information. My food and paper has populated here from those invoice integrations. So that's all populating. And then I'm able to view this side by side, even across legal entity, because we treat every transaction on a location basis. So we're able to kind of mix and match and plug and play those legal entities as we please. And then over on the right, we've got that nice consolidated column where it totals everything up and says, hey, as a business, here's where we are. Now, another important thing to mention about this is the fact that we have drill downs. So if I were to click into one of those numbers from the P&L, it's going to drill directly into that GL detail for that location. And it's going to show me every transaction and link me to every transaction that happened during that detail period, right? So we'll be able to dive in. Not only do we see the number, we've got the receipts for it as well. So you always have that proof behind the numbers there, just waiting to be drilled into from that report. And as I mentioned earlier, with our reporting package abilities, right? So we have the ability to match that profit keeper format for you and even automate the sending of that, where you can set that up to go out, on the first day of every period or whatever it might look like for that cadence. We can set that out to automatically go out and fill out over there, so you don't have to export and import anything anywhere, nothing like that. Awesome. The last piece on the P&L is going to be our operation statement, more of a GM view of the P&L, right? The ability to view an operation statement that gives me the trailing 4 weeks, period to date, period budget, and then a variance. So we're basically just taking kind of, the goals we've set for ourselves, and then the last 4 weeks of actual data and saying, here's where we are. Again, the benefit of this is our GMs can be pulling this once a week, once a day, twice a week, whatever we want to do, right? We're basically just not flying blind anymore. We can see where we are at any point throughout the month and adjust to make sure we're hitting those goals that we've set for ourselves.
And Aaron, one question that just came up was about how to track and compare across multiple locations or multiple concepts.
Yeah, most definitely. So as we were kind of mentioning here, obviously, this isn't the only report where this is going to exist, but it is the only one that I have pulled up today. So all of our reporting in the system, we actually have the ability to pull across locations, concepts, things of that sort. You can even set up custom grouping. So if I have, a brand over here and a brand over here, I can separate those locations into custom groups to allow for easy filtering between those reports. When it's all said and done, I can even compare across those brands if I want to, like we see here with our side-by-side P&L. So you'll have lots of different ways to kind of slice and dice that data without ever having to manually manipulate anything. No exporting, no putting this over here and putting this over there, right? You'll be able to have those customized reports directly within the system.
And is this something they can put into their profit keeper when they have to submit their P&Ls?
100%. Yes. So put it in your profit keeper. Again, all of our reports will be exportable, emailable directly from the system. They're also subscribable. So you can just set those up on an email recurrence, whether that's to you, to your GM, or directly to profit keeper. Right. And like I mentioned earlier, we do have the ability to match that format that is needed for profit keeper. So we can just set that up to automate and go out every month for you. Awesome. All right, let's move into the inventory piece. So with inventory, right, we've got a little bit of a different view here. So on the right side of my screen here, you'll see what we call our smart operations view. Basically big bubbly buttons that we use and can easily identify to run our business on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, whether that be reviewing invoices or counting inventory, maybe transferring product from store to store. I want to point out, and something we'll kind of dive into a little more is that all of this is available through our mobile app. Usually I kind of place it as the one thing I can't do from my mobile phone or probably shouldn't do is build a new schedule, right? Everything else here I can do directly from my phone. So we're not spending a bunch of time in front of a computer to be able to run Restaurant 365, right? It's usually just quick transactional things that we do. So again, having the operations piece inside of our accounting system. Number one, like we said, working on the go, whether that is in the office or the walk-in, easily viewing and tracking daily sales, getting a snapshot of your labor lineup, which is down here. I can't scroll down there. Uh, Communicating cross-functionally. So that means, communicating between GMs, assistant managers, accounting, all of those folks living in that same system. And then also forecasting with precision using our smart forecasting tool that's going to forecast your sales. So here's a couple of screenshots from our mobile app. Our ratings and reviews over here, I forgot to update this. The amount of ratings has gone up, and I think we're closer to 4.9 now, maybe, but there's like 20,000 reviews, right? So very highly rated mobile app. And the important thing to note about that is that this is just one app. The same app that my CEO is getting reports in is the same app that my manager uses for inventory, is the same app that my employees get access to view their schedules, place time off requests, all of those things, right? So tons of users using this app every single day. It's also available in Spanish. So bilingual there. If we've got folks that speak Spanish, they can utilize the app as well. The screenshots I have here, I just want to point out some of the things that I think are really cool about these, right? So the one on the left, this is actually our inventory management portion. So while I'm counting an inventory, I can hit a little edit button in the top right, and I can drag and drop items into a shelf to sheet order. I can also add and remove items on the fly. If we have something LTO that came in, whatever it might be, we can add and remove those items just right there from the mobile app. So we're not having to take notes and remember to add it later or anything like that. The second screenshot here in the middle, this is actually when we're counting the items. So a couple of important things here. I'm able to do math in this field. That should be apparent here, right? Looks like a calculator. So I can just do calculations of how many pounds I have. I can also count cases of 20 pounds and bags of 5 pounds. Every time I enter a number in here, this is auto saving. That's extremely, extremely important for us because number one, it allows us to divide and conquer on the inventory. You can have as many folks counting inventory at the same time as you want on their own devices. That also protects us from losing inventories because that autosave protects us when we're in the walk-in or the freezer and we don't have service, right? It's going to be saving locally to your device until you reconnect, and then it'll submit those counts off automatically. So no need to remember to save or anything like that. It'll be doing that throughout the count. And then that last screenshot there is our schedule. So this is the employee view where when we write a schedule in Restaurant 365, send it out, employees receive this and they see how many hours they have, how many they've worked remaining and missed. And we also have a really cool announcement tool here. So we can send out announcements. We can even specify this to job code. So we can have management level announcements to store level announcements, whatever it might be. And those will live there on the home screen for a pre-specified amount of time. Awesome. Now we also have smart purchasing that we want to hit on really quickly. So this is our purchase order module. It's the ability to place orders directly from the system. Now they're showing it on a tablet here. This is another piece that we can do straight from the mobile app. And the two main kickers there that we want to talk about. Number one would be a fill to par option. So you have the ability to save pars in the system. You can then go say, hey, I have two of these, and hit a button that will then do the math to fill that order to the par for all of the items, right? So we can cut down on that mental math, that guesswork, all of those things. So fill to par, super, super cool, popular thing there. The other one would be our suggest quantity feature. So this is suggested ordering. Basically, what that's going to do is it's going to look at your last 90 days of usage of your products, and it's going to submit a smart order based on that factor, right? So we'll know theoretically how many you have on hand and then calculate to an order amount. So that can replace the ordering process altogether. Basically, at that point, we'd be pressing a button, letting the system calculate, and then doing a quick review, looking at items, comparing to recent orders, making sure everything looks in line, and then submitting that off. Awesome. Another factor here in our operations module would be the manager logbook. So as it says at the top, shift to shift handoffs, that's one aspect of a logbook, right? Another big aspect of this, especially for those multi-location groups, right? We can't be in 100 places at once. So this is a great way to have those managers leaving notes that you can then access, that we can even tag to reporting that automatically shows up in your inbox. So you're going to be getting those daily flash reports for your locations and things of that sort. We can tag those logbook entries right to the bottom. Another great factor of this is that this will tag to that smart forecasting tool that we talked about earlier. So when you go to run that forecast, you'll be able to see why you had a $0 sale day on a Tuesday last year. You don't have to remember those types of things. You'll have those pertinent sales notes logged into the system. Awesome. Now, the actual versus theoretical report. This is a huge report for us. I've got a great screenshot pulled here that actually shows some relevant items for us, things like ice cream, mixes, all that good stuff. So this is a post-inventory report. I will just mention, I don't have screenshots of it, but we do have an above store version of this as well. So you can look at your variances across all of your locations in one simple report, and then drill in anywhere that there's something worth diving in a little further. But this report here is really kind of the holy grail of operations. This is our most run operational report. And that is because it gives us all of the information we need to not just see that we either hit or missed the mark, but to see where we did that, right? So what we see here is we've got items like ice creams. We've got our beginning amount. So if we're doing a weekly inventory, how many quarts did I have last week? Well, I had 6 quarts. Next to that, we have our purchase column. How many did I buy between last inventory and this one? If you click into these, it will take you to drill down data, just like the P&L did, that shows me here's those invoices or here's that inventory. So you can see all of that information. You don't just see the number. Then we have our ending amount, right? So that's the end count quantity. And that's how we're calculating your actual usage for that week. You started with this, you purchased this, you ended with this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to compare that actual usage number to a theoretical usage number. Again, just as a reminder, that's driven from the POS integration. We pull over all those menu items. So every time you sell that cake batter grab and go, we know how many of those you sold, right? So we're able to calculate that theoretical usage and provide you with a clean variance column to see, okay, exactly how far was I off on each individual item, and even by category. So at the bottom, you'll see our ice cream category is totaled up there. We can see exactly how far off the mark we were. Now, one of my favorite pieces of this report is that we also get a summary level of the percent of sales, so COGS, right? So I can see my actual COGS percentage of inventory items, 30.29%. Based on what I sold in the POS, 26.67 should have been where I was, right? If I had no waste and portioned perfectly, that's where I would be. So now what we're doing is we're basically quantifying how much I stand to save, right? If I can operationally improve in certain aspects of this, I stand to save 3.6 this past week in COGS. Right? And we know those dollars add up really, really quickly. Awesome.
So, Aaron, one quick question that came across the chat here. Those reports that we're walking through, do they have to build them from scratch or are they available out of the box?
Great question. So I hope you know how to. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, they are 100% out of the box canned, as we call them. My reports, right? So we have a My Reports section of Restaurant 365. It has over 200 reports in it, from all things from daily sales and POS information all the way to payroll information, right? So anything in between all of that. And one thing that we do through our onboarding process, so we make sure that we set you up with what we call key accounting and key operations reports. So we've got a list of these ones that are most popularly used. We'll run you through them and then make sure we get you set up with preset views and favorites of those reports and even those subscriptions that we talked about. So you don't even have to go click run. They just show up in your email. Awesome. Great question. So let's talk a little bit about scheduling. So kind of the same deal here with our scheduling, right? We've talked all about all-in-one and everything else. Now with scheduling, it's no different. Really having the scheduling inside of our operations software, number one, it prevents our managers from having a work folder on their phone, right? If I have to download 5 apps to do my job, at what point is it just tech overload, right? If I can do it all in one place, we're talking now, right? We've got a really clean, streamlined process for this. But some other things that we've talked about so far is like, hey, I already forecasted my sales. Why would I want to go forecast sales in another system to go build the schedule? Or worse, why would I want to build a schedule without having a sales forecast in there, right? And just build it blindly. So those are some things that having this all in one system, just saves us time and also just again streamlines that process, that manager experience, all of those good things. So with the smart scheduling, right, we allow you to maintain the appropriate control and oversight over employee schedules. So again, the employees are going to get our mobile app. They're going to be able to place their time off requests, swap shifts, all of those things, pending manager approval. So we get out of sticky note and maybe full desk calendar land or whatever it might be, right? All those written notes that we keep before we build our schedule. We also have the ability to easily implement all of our break rules, minor rules, and all of those things directly into the schedule to where when I schedule that 8-hour shift, it breaks in that, half-hour break or whatever it might be. So we can make sure we're kind of compliant in our different states of how we need to build our employee schedules. Centralizing the team communication. So that really revolves around our messaging center. So we talked about manager log for manager kind of communication there. We also have a messaging tool inside of the mobile app that allows employees to message each other. We have an audit center for that, the ability to report messages and all of those pieces. We can also set up custom groups. So if your managers want to have a chat or a cross-location chat or whatever it might be, we can set all that up and streamline that communication inside of the mobile app. And then, as we mentioned, streamlining requests and approvals. Again, that's all going to live right there. I go from counting inventory to approving and denying time off requests all in one place. So I never get lost in the sauce there. Awesome. Here's a little screenshot of that dashboard. So this is that manager view, as you can see, open requests right there on my home screen, and that announcement tool that we mentioned earlier that can be geared towards specific job codes. Here's how it looks whenever I go to approve or deny a time off request for an employee. I thought this was super cool. I came from the world of sticky notes, right? So I didn't have insight into stuff like this, like, hey, Helen, 3 of your last 5 requests have been approved. And by the way, I've already approved Henry and Tiffany's time off request, and Reggie already had his in. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to deny this time off request because that's going to put me in a bad place. When I go to deny that time off request, I can leave comments for Helen just saying, hey, so sorry. This is what happened. Can't let you have that day off. Maybe reach out to Henry and see if they'll trade with you. Awesome. And again, here's that employee view that we talked about. So when employees get access to this app, they aren't going to see all those things like inventory and purchase orders and invoices. All they're going to get are the pertinent scheduling tools that they need. So the ability to see their schedule, weekly overview there, the announcements, availability, change requests, time off requests, all of those pieces managed in here. One thing I didn't mention, you do have the ability to publish unassigned shifts, meaning I know I need someone to work, but I don't know who that's going to be. You can publish those shifts out, and then employees can offer to pick those up. As long as they have that job title and aren't already working, they can come in and say, hey, I'll work it. And then a manager can approve that. Awesome.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit to a new partnership that we're super excited about. We have partnered with a company called Voosh. And what Voosh does is really unique in this space. So they'll take all of those third-party orders that are coming from DoorDash, from Grubhub, from Uber Eats. And the first thing they're going to do is they're going to offer a really easy tool to be able to reconcile those orders. So you'll be able to see what's selling on various platforms, how much is selling. The other really nice thing that they're doing is they're automatically disputing every single refund or chargeback. And what that's doing then is hopefully recovering. On average, they recover between 95 and 98% of those chargebacks. And so it completely takes it off of your plate. You don't have to go and contact each individual platform, which is notoriously difficult, probably by design. But it's a really easy tool for you to go in and help recover all of those refunded or chargeback sales. And with that, I think we have covered mostly anything or everything, excuse me. If you have any other questions in the chat, please feel free to drop them. This is also being recorded, so Aaron and I will be able to send this off to everyone who has joined, as well as those folks who couldn't make it today. But thank you all for your time, and we look forward to talking to you soon.